It was the middle of the rainy season in Thailand, when the roads glistened with water and the air clung heavy with the scent of wet earth. Darren, a 28-year-old travel vlogger from London, was exploring forgotten roads in Southeast Asia for his new documentary series, Haunted Highways. His next stop? An old, nearly abandoned route just outside of Nakhon Pathom, a road whispered about in forums and folklore as being cursed by Phi Tai Hong, spirits of those who died sudden, tragic deaths. In Thai culture, it is believed that when a person dies unnaturally, by accident, murder, or suicide, their soul becomes restless. And among them, Phi Tai Hong are considered the most dangerous. These are not the souls of the peacefully departed. They are vengeful, bound to the place of their demise, seeking attention, or worse, revenge. Locals had warned Darren not to go. Even his driver refused to take him past a certain point on the road. They told stories of motorists seeing a woman covered in blood standing in the middle of the road at night, only to vanish when approached. Others claimed to hear crying, or the roar of a motorbike that never appeared. Darren, skeptical but intrigued, dismissed it as superstition. After all, fear was good for the camera, and even better for views. With his GoPro strapped to his chest and his flashlight ready, he began his journey by foot just as twilight bled into night. The only sounds were the distant croaks of frogs, the buzz of insects, and the crunch of gravel beneath his boots. He paused at a rusted road sign, half swallowed by vines. Faded letters in Thai read, "Warning, accidents happen often here. Proceed with caution." Below the warning, someone had scrawled in black marker, "Do not stop. Do not look back." Darren chuckled nervously. Probably just a prank, he thought. But as the wind picked up and the sky darkened, that uneasy feeling in his chest refused to go away. The first 10 minutes on the highway felt uneventful. Darren walked with a steady pace, occasionally speaking to the camera strapped to his chest. "So, this is the infamous haunted road. Doesn't look too scary, does it?" he said, panning the flashlight across the cracked pavement and thick, overgrown jungle flanking both sides. "I mean, there's nothing here except mosquitoes and humidity." But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the shadows seemed to grow longer and heavier. The air changed. The jungle around him went unnaturally quiet. No insects. No frogs. Just silence. Thick, uncomfortable silence. He checked his watch. 7:18 p.m. A sudden breeze passed, cold and sharp, making him shiver. Odd, it was over 30 degrees Celsius just moments ago. Darren tried to shake off the feeling and kept walking. That's when he noticed something strange, a plastic offering tray sitting in the middle of the road. On it were wilted marigolds, half-burnt incense sticks, and a small porcelain cup turned over, as if knocked down by the wind. He crouched down and inspected it. "Someone's been here recently," he muttered. "Maybe a ritual offering?" Behind him, something rustled in the brush. He spun around. Flashlight scanning. Nothing. No wind. No movement. Then came the smell, a faint metallic scent, like rusted iron or old blood. It clung to the back of his throat. He coughed and stepped away from the offering, suddenly uneasy. His camera caught it all, but he said nothing. For the first time, he didn't feel like talking. He resumed walking, but the feeling of being watched had settled over him like a fog. He quickened his pace. His boots crunched louder, echoing unnaturally. Then, a sudden loud sound, the high-pitched squeal of a motorbike engine roared behind him. Darren jumped and turned, nothing. No lights. No rider. Just empty road behind. And yet, the sound hadn't stopped. It grew louder, closer, as if coming directly at him. He dove to the side of the road instinctively, breathing hard. But when he looked up, the noise was gone. No bike. No lights. Just silence again. Only this time, the jungle didn't feel empty. It felt aware. Darren wiped sweat from his brow. Okay, he whispered to himself, maybe they weren't lying after all. Somewhere deep in the trees to his right, a woman's voice began to weep. Soft. distant, broken. The weeping grew louder. It wasn't the kind of sorrowful crying you might expect from grief. It was raw, guttural, almost animalistic. Darren froze in place, his breath shallow, the flashlight trembling slightly in his hand. The sound came from the dense brush to his right, maybe 10 meters away. He lifted his camera. "I'm hearing something," he whispered into the mic, his voice no longer trying to mask the fear. "It sounds like a woman crying. This isn't a joke. No one knew I was coming here tonight except my fixer. There shouldn't be anyone out here." The weeping stopped. Abruptly. Then came a new sound. Giggling. Soft. Childlike. It floated on the air from the opposite side of the road. Darren spun around again. Nothing. No footsteps. No shadows. But the air was charged now, like just before a lightning strike. Suddenly, the flashlight dimmed. The batteries were new, but the beam flickered like a dying candle. Darren tapped it nervously, whispering curses under his breath. That's when he saw her. Standing at the very edge of the trees. A woman, or at least something shaped like one. Her long black hair hung wet over her face. She wore a white dress, torn at the bottom, stained with something dark. Mud? Blood? Darren couldn't tell. She wasn't moving. Not even breathing. Just standing there, watching. He raised his flashlight. "Hello," he called, instantly regretting it. The woman tilted her head. Then, slowly, she lifted one arm and pointed, not at Darren, but down the road, deeper into the darkness. Then she vanished. No sound. No movement. Just gone. The flashlight flickered violently, then stabilized. Darren stood there, unable to speak, heart pounding in his chest. His rational brain screamed at him to leave. But curiosity, his most dangerous trait, forced him forward. He walked slowly toward where she had pointed. The trees grew denser. The path narrower. The moon, now high above, provided little comfort. He followed the road for what felt like another 10 minutes, when he stumbled upon something that made his stomach drop. A shrine. Hidden in the undergrowth. Made of crumbling stone and moss-covered statues. Around it were dozens of offerings, drinks, snacks, incense, candles long melted into puddles. And photos. Black and white photos of young people. Each one bore a date of death. Some recent. Some decades old. At the center of the shrine, written in red paint across the back of a broken mirror, were the words, "They never left." As Darren read it, the weeping returned, this time closer, all around him, overlapping voices. Men. Women. Children. All crying, wailing in agony. He spun in circles, his light darting across empty trees. Then he saw the mirror, no longer broken. And in its reflection, he was not alone. Darren stumbled backward, away from the mirror. His chest was tight, breath rapid, heart thudding like a drum. The reflection still burned in his mind, a crowd of shadowy figures standing behind him, faces pale and twisted in pain, eyes empty but locked onto his every movement. But when he turned around, again, there was nothing. Just trees. Just night. Just silence. He backed away from the shrine, forcing himself to breathe. Okay. This is next level, he muttered into the camera. Either I'm hallucinating, or there's something seriously wrong with this place. He knew he needed answers. Someone had to know more. He checked his phone. Miraculously, he still had a weak signal. He sent a message to his fixer, Chai, a local contact who had helped him arrange interviews in past towns. To his relief, Chai responded almost instantly. "You're still on that road? Get out now." Darren texted back. What is Phi Tai Hong really? This is more than just a ghost story. A moment passed. Then 3 dots appeared. Chai, Phi Tai Hong are vengeful spirits. People who died suddenly. If no one prays for them, they stay angry. Chai, but that road, it's cursed. So many accidents. Especially in the 90s. Chai, there was a bus crash. A group of high school students. Everyone died. Bodies burned. Some never found. Chai, locals tried to bless the place. The shrine was built there. But it didn't help. Sometimes, people still see them. Darren's hands were cold as he read. He slowly turned back to the shrine and looked again at the photos. High school uniforms. Smiling faces. Most too young to have died. A gust of wind swept past, scattering dried leaves across the road. He looked back toward the trees. Then, footsteps. Slow. Dragging. From the direction he had come. He crouched behind the shrine, heart pounding. Through the leaves he could just barely make out a figure walking slowly along the road. Limping. Barefoot. It was a teenage boy. His school uniform singed and torn. Skin pale. Neck twisted at an unnatural angle. He walked without looking around, eyes fixed straight ahead. Like he was stuck in time. Darren didn't breathe. Another figure appeared behind him. A girl. Hair blackened by ash, her hand held close to her chest as if cradling something broken. And then another. And another. They walked the road silently, one after another, like ghosts replaying their final moments. Darren turned the camera toward them, but the lens fogged up instantly. Then, a voice whispered in his ear, cold and low. "Why are you watching us die again?" He jumped up and ran. Darren ran. Branches clawed at his arms as he sprinted off the road and into the jungle, driven by raw panic. His breathing was sharp, fast, almost animalistic. Every step seemed heavier than the last, as if something unseen were pulling at his legs. Behind him, the crying had returned, louder now, angrier. Voices layered over one another, pleading, accusing, weeping. He stumbled, landing hard on his side, his flashlight rolling a few feet ahead. The beam flickered, then steadied, shining on something just ahead of him. A rusted metal sign. Covered in vines, it leaned awkwardly in the earth. Darren crawled forward and wiped it clean with trembling hands. The sign read, "Bus stop, Route 43. Last departure, March 12, 1997. His blood went cold. He remembered what Chai had said. The high school students, a bus crash in the 90s. This must have been where it happened. Where they waited. Where they died. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. He turned. Far down the road, glowing faint through the trees, was the unmistakable light of a bus's headlights, cutting through the fog. "No way," Darren whispered. "It can't be." But it was. The bus moved slowly toward him, engine barely audible, as if it were drifting rather than driving. The windows were fogged, but dark shapes moved behind them. Figures. Dozens of them. Sitting still. Waiting. As the bus neared, it came to a slow stop directly in front of the sign. The door creaked open with a long hiss. And then he heard it. A voice from inside the bus. "Young. Male. Are you coming?" Darren stepped back. The air was heavy, thick like smoke. The flashlight flickered again. And this time, it died. From the open door, something stepped down. The boy with the twisted neck. He stood silently, eyes meeting Darren's. Then came the others, one by one, descending the steps in silence. A girl with burns across her arms. A boy missing a shoe, dragging his foot. Another with her uniform torn and soaked with dried blood. They surrounded him, but didn't touch him. They just stared. And then, together, they spoke, voices overlapping like a broken choir. "You saw us. You heard us. Now you carry us." The wind howled. The jungle screamed. And Darren screamed with it, his voice lost in the storm of vengeful sorrow. Darren woke up on the side of the road. The sun had just begun to rise, casting soft orange light over the treetops. His clothes were damp with dew, his flashlight dead by his side. The camera on his chest was still recording, the red light blinking lazily. He sat up slowly, his muscles aching, head pounding like a drum. For a moment, he couldn't remember why he was there. And then, he did. The shrine. The bus. The children. The voices. He looked down at the road beside him. No footprints. No scorch marks. No sign of the bus. No signs of anything unnatural. It was as if the night had never happened. But Darren knew what he saw. What he felt. Back at the village, Chai found him hours later sitting silently in the corner of a tea shop, staring at nothing. "You survived," Chai said softly, sitting across from him. Darren nodded. Chai waited, then asked, "Did they follow you back?" Darren looked up with hollow eyes. "I don't think they ever left." He pulled the memory card from the camera and slid it across the table. "Take it. I'm done. I'm not publishing this." Chai took it carefully, frowning. "Are you sure?" Darren nodded again, eyes distant. "They just wanted someone to remember. To see them. To know they were real. Now that I have." He paused. "I hear them at night. In the silence. In the static. In the spaces between thoughts." Later, when Chai reviewed the footage alone, most of it was unusable. The audio distorted. The visuals scrambled. Only one section played clearly. It was a still frame from Darren's flashlight, shining directly at the shrine. In the background, the mirror reflected something. A crowd. Dozens of blurred faces. Staring. Watching. Waiting. The file corrupted seconds later. To this day, that stretch of road remains mostly forgotten, swallowed by vines and time. But those who know the old stories still avoid it. Not out of superstition, but out of respect. Because not all spirits want to harm. Some simply don't want to be forgotten.